Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie's got a sports show, and you yourself, you right there, are tuning into that sports show and much appreciated. Recording a video, again, missed the video for Thursday's podcast, and I truly do apologize for that. Today we're going to get into some Hall of Fame, who's going to make it, who are the finalists, and also we're going to talk a little video that I had reach, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 views on TikTok in regards to the Hall of Fame. Also, Bienemy is out as the Commanders' offensive coordinator. In comes Cliff Kingsbury with a whole Raiders spiel thing. Joel Embiid injury, and the Eagles are apparently going to play in Brazil, and let's touch on that very first. But before, as always, I got to tell you, make sure you like, rate, and share the show. Especially rate, especially share the show. It pushes me up the charts, and I much do appreciate it. And Red Light Homies came out yesterday. Go take a listen to it. We did some Would You Rathers, and much appreciate it. As always, as I much appreciate all the things that y'all do for me. Promise I'm getting a webcam back soon, but right now you're going to have to deal with the iPhone video and the iPhone audio. And let's get into it. First, the Eagles apparently are playing a NFL game in Brazil. Not only are they playing a game in Brazil, they're playing it opening week. NFL opening week, September 9th. The Philadelphia Eagles will play a match that is to be determined in San something, Brazil. And I want to bring this up. I want to talk about this because it's cool to see the NFL going global. A lot of people like to make fun of Americans, saying the Super Bowl is one of the best, one of the biggest things in America, biggest sporting events in America, one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And they're like, the World Cup, nobody gives a shit. That's just a lie. Anytime the NFL pulls up anywhere outside the United States, people go insane. And it's cool to see the NFL reaching out to more and more countries. Don't say we. It's my favorite sport. That doesn't mean I'm a part of the NFL. They've been to Britain, obviously. They've been to Germany. They've been to Mexico. Now they're going to Brazil. I know they're probably going to try to reach out to Japan, maybe go to Canada. It's cool to see the NFL going global like this. I always said that basketball has a chance to be more popular in America just because of the foreign aspect of it. Basketball is everywhere. And not only is basketball everywhere, it is like, I believe in Korea, it's one of the top 3 most popular sports. Same thing in Japan, same thing in China. Like, all over the place. And in Europe, they have their own league in which players from that league, the Lukas, the Jokic's, all those guys come over and start dominating the league. It's really good for the sport of basketball. It's really good for the NBA, and the NFL getting more and more global is awesome for football. It's my favorite sport. I want everybody to love the sport. Do I care when people try to shit on it and it's not as popular as you think. Rugby is better and the guys are more tougher. I don't care. I don't care when you say that, but it does make me excited to see the NFL going more global. It's fun. It's fun. It's great to see. So that's why I wanted to bring up the Eagles moving to South America. Not moving to South America, but the NFL opening a door in South America for guys to fall in love with football down there. Of course, we'll see the turnout. South America, massive soccer country, or football. I call it soccer because I'm American. Massive soccer country. But we'll see the turnout. I think it's going to be a good turnout. So let's go over the smaller stuff before we get into the Hall of Fame. And award predictions, including the Super Bowl stuff, that'll be on Thursday. Bienemy out in Washington. I think this isn't a big shock. They hired Dan Quinn, and usually with a new head coaching hire comes a new coaching staff. Bienemy didn't do a phenomenal job with that Commanders offense. Then again, he was handed Sam Howell as their quarterback, a guy who everybody was very, very low on and he was handed a pretty bad offensive line and just told to make chicken salad with chicken shit. But don't doubt that he's going to be hired on somewhere else. But it's really a headache keeping up with Eric Bienemy. I said this in the video I made about him yesterday. When you keep up with Eric Bienemy, he was the Chiefs offensive coordinator for a while, pretty much throughout Patrick Mahomes' rise to being the best quarterback in the league. Eric Bienemy was the offensive coordinator, and you would think that would lend him head coaching positions, right? Or head coaching interviews. But then again, how much of that offense was really Andy Reid and how much was Eric Bienemy just the guy to kind of keep it together, if you want to say? So just a minor role to Andy Reid's much bigger role. A lot of stories about a lot of guys not really liking how Eric Bienemy coaches, more stories about Eric Bienemy not being great in interviews, and of course you always have the racial bias when it comes to black coaches in the NFL. Even though it's getting harder, of course, Antonio Pierce got hired on, D'Amico Ryans last year. Robert Salah, I know he's not black, but he is a minority. There's a couple guys where just saying like, oh, a black, it's getting harder to say that, but you can't really ignore the historical significance of black head coaches getting the shaft just because they're black. But it is a lot of factors with Eric Bienemy. I'm not just saying there's a racial bias, because I don't even know if there's a racial bias. There's probably with some teams, let's not get it twisted, but with a lot of teams, I doubt that it's there anymore. And like I said, stories come out. Guys don't like the way he coaches. Some guys do, but a lot of guys don't. And he's a bad interview, apparently. That might just be a story, and I might be misremembering something, but I remember last year and the year before, when everybody was thinking that he was going to get a head coaching position, a lot of articles were coming out saying, yeah, NFL teams just don't like the way he's interviewed, which is fair if that's the truth. Now, Cliff Kingsbury had a bit of a weird path to the Commanders. He was, of course, the Arizona Cardinals head coach, and then he disappeared to a different country, and then he reappeared as the USC offensive coordinator, and then he was going to sign with the Raiders to be their offensive coordinator, and then he kind of backed out of that with a Josh McDaniels-like move. And then now he's signing with the Washington Commanders, and everybody's speculating, oh, does this mean that they're going to make a major play to try to get Caleb Williams, try to get that number one pick from the Bears, or cross their fingers and hope the Bears pick a Drake May so that Caleb Williams can fall, which could happen. But I don't know. I'm not confident in Cliff Kingsbury. Like, he works in college football. That's pretty obvious. But in terms of in the NFL, he just really hasn't shown anything in regards to him working. And I think keeping Eric Bienemy would have been the better move, because at least Eric Bienemy has shown he could be a good offensive coordinator. Of course, like I said, the whole last year with the Commanders' offense not being that great kind of muddies that water a little bit. But, I mean, a lot of people, if you held up Cliff Kingsbury and you held up Eric Bienemy and said, hey, pick one of these guys to orchestrate your offense, you'd pick Eric Bienemy, right? I don't know. Let me know what y'all think of that. And last small story before we get into the Hall of Fame. Joel Embiid, of course, was injured, and we talked about that last week. He was injured against the Golden State Warriors, sparked a whole conversation about the 65 game, because he's been the best player in the NBA this season. He's not the best player in the NBA, but in terms of just 2024 or 2023 to 2024, Joel Embiid has been the best player in the NBA. And he's not going to win MVP because he's not going to play 65 games. That's just the facts. And a lot of people are calling that unfair. We had that conversation last week. If you want into that conversation, go check out the episode last week. But he had surgery, and the estimations that I was reading have him out 1 to 2 months, which is not good, which is not good for the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe at one point they were the 2nd seed in the East, or at the very least they were the 3rd seed, playing very, very well. And then without Joel Embiid, they have been 1 and 2. They had a 3-point win over the Jazz, and then a 15-point loss to the Nets, and a 16-point loss to the Mavs. Now, the Nets and Mavs aren't awful teams. The Nets are definitely worse than the Mavs, but the Mavs were basically fully healthy, especially they had Luka and Kyrie last night. And the 76ers sit at like 30-18, I believe. Something around there. They have 30 wins, somewhere around 18 losses. And they're the 5th seed right now. And right on their tails, the Pacers at 28-23, the Magic at 27-23, and the Heat at 26-24. The Pacers have been a little shaky after a very explosive start, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The Magic were kind of surprising everybody early in the season with how good they were being, and the Heat are the Heat. The Heat are just, if they make it into the playoffs, they're going to cause a lot of problems. Am I saying that the 76ers are going to miss the playoffs? No. But when Joel Embiid comes back, which if he is out to one to 2 months, that means April, when the season is really coming down to the wire, the 76ers could be in the 8th or 9th seed fighting for a play-in spot. Now, they have talent and they can win some games. I'm not going to say they can't. They can win some games without Joel Embiid, but they're not the same team at all without him. And I think they're going to lose a lot more than they win. The 76ers season is in trouble. Now, Joel Embiid comes back. Maybe he's a little rusty for a month, but they get a couple wins, maybe fight their way up to the 6th seed out. I believe the 6th seed still has to play in the play-in. But yeah. Sorry. I had to pause and stretch for a second. I apologize. But Joel Embiid's injury is not good for the 76ers. They're going to take a slide. I believe they're going to fight back. They're not going to miss the playoffs, but the 76ers definitely have gotten a lot worse, and I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's actually a very obvious take. They will be looking at me like, Jack, of course they're going to get worse. He's their best player. So let's talk NFL Hall of Fame. The NFL 2024 Hall of Fame class of 2024 will be announced on Saturday with the NFL honors. And this is going to be a very short episode, depending on how long I take with this. The finalist for the NFL Hall of Fame is defensive back Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, not related, offensive lineman Willie Anderson, offensive lineman Jahari Evans, defensive end Dwight Freeney, tight end Antonio Gates, return man Devin Hester, wide receiver Torrey Holt, wide receiver Andre Johnson, defensive end Jalise Peppers, running back Fred Taylor, wide receiver Reggie Wayne, linebacker Patrick Willis, and defensive back Darren Woodson. These are all the modern era finalists. Of course, you have the senior finalists, but usually all of those guys end up making the Hall. Now, last year, they had 9 people who made it in, and the year before that, they had 8 who made it in the modern era finalists, I believe. So I have dwindled this list down to 2, 4, 6, 8 people. I think that is I think that's an accurate list on the amount of people who are going to make it in. So let's get right into it. First off, Devin Hester is making the Hall of Fame. A lot of people have a problem with that because they say he didn't do anything as a wide receiver. He's not going in as a wide receiver. He is going in as a return man. Not his wide receiver stats shouldn't be included in his Hall of Fame thing because he's going in as a return specialist. So, that argument aside, A lot of people will say, well, return specialists shouldn't even have a place in the Hall of Fame. Let me tell you something. Is it a part of the game? Yes. Is it a game-changing part of the game? Yes. Is Devin Hester the best return man to ever do it? Yes. I don't care if return specialist is treated as kickers and punters, where it is very, very rare for a kicker and a punter to put up the kind of numbers to be in the Hall of Fame. Right? I don't even know how many kickers are in the Hall of Fame, but I know in the past 20 years, there's only 2 that's going to be in there. Adam Vinatieri and Justin Tucker. It's just going to be those 2 the past 20 years to make it into the NFL Hall of Fame as a kicker. As a punter, I don't even know a single punter that should be put in the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, Brent Kern should be in there because he was the best punter for over a decade, but that's just a Titans bias. Maybe you say like Tommy Townsend, maybe. But there's only one punter in the Hall of Fame, Ray Guy, and he was disgusting. And there's not going to be another punter for a long time. So I understand not putting special teams guys in the Hall of Fame every single year, or not even putting them first ballot, because there is a lot of guys who deserve it. I understand that. But Devin Hester is the best return specialist of all time. Of all time. And special teams is an important part of the game. An important part of the game. Go look at, what year was it? I think it was like 2009 or something. The San Diego Chargers, then the San Diego Chargers. Number 1 offense, number 1 defense. You know why they didn't make the playoffs? Their special teams sucked. Their special teams was so bad. And because it was so bad, they didn't make the playoffs, even though they had the number 1 offense, number 1 defense. Special teams is a very, very important part of the game. Devin Hester is the best to ever do it at the return specialist position. You may come back with, does that mean Josh Cribbs and Cordell Patterson? Maybe. Maybe down the line. But they aren't the best to ever do it. Devin Hester is the best to ever do it. Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Julius Peppers makes it. There's a heavy, heavy bias towards defensive ends and pass rushers. I think Julius Peppers should make it in. Darren Woodson should make it in. It'll be a couple tries since Darren Woodson got his first shot at it. But I think this is the year where Darren Woodson makes it. I think Jaron Allen should make it in. And I think Torrey Holt should make it in. Now, there's a debate between Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, and Reggie Wayne. I think Reggie Wayne can wait a couple tries. This is Andre Johnson's first try, and he doesn't have a resume that screams, he's one of the best receivers of all time, but it doesn't scream like first ballot Hall of Famer. Torrey Smith has been waiting for a long time. Torrey Holt has been waiting for a long time to get into the Hall of Fame, and it's time to put him in the Hall of Fame. Now, I have a bias. I have a bias when it comes to how long guys have been waiting. If a guy has been waiting a long time, like the Torrey Holts, like the Darren Woodsons, like the Dwight Freeneys, and even guys that I left off the list, like Willie Anderson and Eric Allen and Reggie Wayne, a lot of those guys I have a bias towards because I'm like, it's been a while. Let's just put them in because they deserve to be in there, right? So when it comes down to Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, and Torrey Holt, I'm putting Torrey Holt in the Hall of Fame. I also have Antonio Gates making it in here. Antonio Gates, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if you took Antonio Gates off and put in maybe Willie Anderson, put in Andre Johnson if you want 2 receivers to make it in there. Antonio Gates, it takes a lot for a tight end to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. A lot of the tight ends in there outside of Tony Gonzalez aren't first ballot guys, but Antonio Gates is regarded as a top 5 tight end of all time. Top 5 tight end of all time, point blank, period. He should be in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people out here saying Antonio Gates does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. You're an idiot. You didn't watch Antonio Gates play. Point blank, period. Go watch him play. Well, he didn't have a lot of 1,000-yard seasons. Don't care. That's not all a tight end does. That's Travis Kelce ruining your brain that a tight end is just another wide receiver. It's not. And lastly, Patrick Willis should make it in. Patrick Willis was the best linebacker as soon as Ray Lewis retired. As soon as Ray Lewis retired, he was the best linebacker in the NFL. And then when he retired, Luke Kuechly was the best linebacker in the NFL. Patrick Willis should absolutely be, I think, 5 All-Pros, Defensive Player of the Year. I think he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Dude was insane. Dude had a Hall of Fame career. And if he played any longer, this would be, without a question, first ballot Hall of Fame. Patrick Willis should be in the Hall of Fame. So the guys that I have from the finalists making the Hall of Fame: Devin Hester, Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis, Darren Woodson, Dwight Freeney, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Torrey Holt. And the only one I can see you maybe debating is Dwight Freeney and Antonio Gates. And the guys that you could probably swap out is Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Eric Allen, and Willie Anderson. But let me know what y'all have out of the finalists. Again, if you need a refresher on who the finalists are: defensive back Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, no relation, offensive lineman Willie Anderson, offensive lineman Jahari Evans, defensive end Dwight Freeney, tight end Antonio Gates, return man Devin Hester, wide receiver Torrey Holt, wide receiver Andre Johnson, defensive end Julius Peppers, running back Fred Taylor, wide receiver Reggie Wayne, linebacker Patrick Willis, and defensive back Darren Woodson. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about a little video that I posted a couple days ago that I got a lot of flack for. Now, this video included a graphic that had pictures of Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, sorry, I dropped you, Eli Manning, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson. That was the graphic, right? And just so I make sure I don't miss anybody: Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson. And the question above this graphic was, how many Hall of Famers do you see? Now I want to ask y'all, and I will give you all a second to answer. How many Hall of Famers is in that group? Again, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers. How many? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Not a single Hall of Famer in that group. Not a single one. A lot of those guys are great franchise quarterbacks, and no one can ever take that away from them. Great franchise quarterbacks. But a great franchise quarterback is not a Hall of Famer. Now, a lot of people are getting on to me saying, oh, you don't think they're going to make it in the Hall of Fame? No, I think they're going to make it in the Hall of Fame. Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Matt Stafford are probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. That doesn't change my opinion. I don't think they're a Hall of Famer. Amongst all of those guys, there is one MVP award. One. Amongst all of those guys, there may be 2 All-Pro teams, and one of those is a second-team All-Pro. You know? No major individual awards, no major records. A lot of people want to come back with, well, Matt Stafford and Phillip Rivers, they're like top 15 in almost every major stat. Yeah, they're great franchise quarterbacks, which means that they played for a very long time. 15, 16, 17 years. Matthew Stafford is still playing. So your numbers are going to be up there with the greats. That doesn't make you a Hall of Fame quarterback. And that goes for any position. You can be great at your position. You can be great franchise linemen, receivers, corners, linebackers, running backs, anybody. You can be great franchise guys that play for a long time and put up good numbers. That doesn't mean you're a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. That does not mean you're a Hall of Famer. You can be put in the Ring of Honor. Matthew Stafford Detroit Ring of Honor. Russell Wilson, Seattle Ring of Honor. Ben Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh Ring of Honor. Those guys can be put in the Ring of Honor. I have no problem. But they don't deserve in Canton. Canton is supposed to be the absolute best of the best. Point blank, period. Most elite, most game-changing. These guys were at the top of the game. Point blank, period. And if you were not considered top 5 at your position at any point in your career, and no, I'm not just talking about top 5 of the 2020 season, top 5 of the 2016 season. No, as a whole, if you were not considered top 5 at your position, I don't think you belong in Canton. Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, outside of just 1 year, they were never considered top 5 at their position. Maybe Russell Wilson between 2017 and 2019. Maybe Russell Wilson because he was the entire Seattle offense. Rest of those guys, no. Some were top 10 guys. Some were always on the outside of the top 10. Matt Ryan. That doesn't put you in the Hall of Fame. That is it. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know y'all's Hall of Fame picks. Let me know what y'all think of that opinion. Tweet at me at JJester615. Tweet at the show at JackiesShow. That is with one little S and one big S. Follow me on TikTok. I post 3, 4, 5 times a day. JackieBoySports. Email me. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to do. oldjackieboy1021 at gmail.com. That is OLE, JackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. And make sure, as always, you like, rate, and share the show. It really, really helps me out. And check out Red Light Homies every Monday at 12 p.m. Central Time. I do that with my buddy. We have 3 episodes out right now. We talked work stories, and then we talked being young in this society. And this past week, we did a little would you rather questions. A lot of fun doing that, so go check that out. Go like, rate, and share that one. And I will see y'all on Thursday. Peace.